Joe News, Coffee News. I want to get into one thing right away, and this is the explosion that happened at the Gaza Strip hospital. That I talked about this yesterday. The Palestinians immediately came out and said Israel bombed it. Israel said no, it was militants from Gaza. Fired a bunch of rockets. One of the rockets went astray, hit the hospital. And yesterday I was critical of the media for immediately going with the story that got Hamas's side of the story without doing any investigating, any due diligence. And yeah, that's pretty much what happened. And I gotta say, I have not seen such shitty reporting that could actually be harmful to people since Fox News leading up to the invasion of Iraq after 9/11. You know, and Fox News back then was absolutely atrocious. They were saying Iraq could fly balloons over the Atlantic and drop shit on us. They made it sound like Iraq was actually dangerous. They were positively sure there was weapons of mass destruction and shit there. Absolutely atrocious, harmful reporting. And this is what it's like, and this is what it is right now when it comes to some of these media. And I'm going to call out NPR and BBC on this, because even now, even today, I'm looking up, and even though they're kind of walking it back and they're saying it's like, well, like we're still investigating pictures and evidence and blah blah blah, and they're still conflating, being like, well, we're still trying to find out what happened. Let's be clear, there is zero evidence that Israel did this, zero, and there is a ton of evidence that it was militants from the Gaza Strip. There is the Pentagon immediately said no, it was rockets from the Gaza Strip. There's recordings of Hamas militants being like, oh shit, look at that. Oh, well, that was a fuck up. Pretty much. I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but there's video of that. Okay, the picture of the hospital. There's like a crater in the parking lot, and the hospital's damaged and stuff, and a bunch of cars are very much damaged in the parking lot. There's no evidence that hundreds of people died, zero evidence, and yet the media is still going with this whole oh, we're not sure, we're still doing investigating. It's atrocious. And I want to say, NPR, BBC, you guys are Fox News now. You guys are the Fox News of the early 2000s. And you should own it. You should clear your house of all these shitty reporters doing shitty work and actually try to become legitimate news organizations again. Period. End of story. Anyway, UK's prime ministers in Israel, they're fully on board with Israel. That's good. U.S. clinches deal with Egypt to allow aid into Gaza. Well, that's good. We're finally forcing Egypt to do something positive here. The House Speaker race, it's still a fucking shit show. What the fuck? I don't even know what to say about that anymore. You're gonna have a very moderate Republican that's gonna become the Speaker of the House, because he's gonna have to work with the Democrats. What else we got here? U.S. hate crimes are rising. Here are some... I don't believe U.S. hate crimes are rising. I don't. I'm sorry. It's just... Well, let me see what the article says. And the reason I want to say that is because, according to people on the far left, if I misgender somebody, that's a violent hate crime. So that's why I don't believe that hate crimes are on the rise. Yeah, it's according to the FBI. Hate crimes are on the rise. And they give an anecdotal story. Then they bring up so they get. But the data has still at times proven flawed. For its information, the FBI relies on thousands of federal, state, local, tribal, and university law enforcement agencies. Ooh, I bet you that's very accurate statistics there. To voluntarily submit reports, but in 2022, for instance, only 14,600 blah blah of roughly 18,000 law enforcement agencies submitted hate crime data to the FBI. Well, maybe that's because and once again, it's like, oh, likely it undercounted the amount of hate crimes. Well, maybe the other 18,000 out of those 18,000 law enforcement agencies, maybe they didn't have any hate crime stuff to submit. Like if someone sends me a study being like, okay, please tell us how many times. Well, I suppose that doesn't make sense. If someone said, how many times has your house been broken into, and my answer was 0, I would probably answer 0. But anyway, my point being, it's like I just don't believe the hate crimes are on the rise, considering that like their level of what is considered a hate crime is extremely low. Extremely low. Like I said, I don't think we live in as bad as time as they pretend. Anything else going on? Britney Spears has been making the news because she came out with a memoir pretty much saying that Justin Timberlake convinced her to get an abortion. I don't know why it amazes me that Britney Spears is still in the news. Honestly, it's like it just goes to show you how fucking popular she was, when she came out. I don't blame people. I still listen to Baby Hit Me One More Time then, so. Leonard Allen Cure, freed after a wrongful conviction, is shot dead in a traffic stop. I read about this yesterday. So this guy, he was in jail for 16 years. Yeah. And he was released 3 years ago because Georgia had this thing where they were going over old cases to try to see if people were wrongly convicted, and anyway, he got released. And apparently he got pulled over by a sheriff's deputy at 7:30 a.m. And my understanding is let me see. The video shows the cop driving his patrol vehicle. Yeah, obviously. The dude passes him speeding, pulls him over. The cop exits the car immediately and yells for Cure to step out and put his hands in the back of his truck. Cure exits, but at first refuses to move to the back of the truck. Looks like the cop tries to grab his arm. He pulls it away. The guy's not complying. He gets tased. Cure complies. Causing speed, reckless driving. Doesn't look good for the cop in this one, to be honest. It's like, I haven't watched the footage. I'll watch the footage. Because the last time you watched the footage, and they're like, oh, he was complying and listening. And then you watch the footage, and he wasn't complying at all. And it goes both ways. There's times where the cops are like, or the cops were like, well, oh, we did this just by the book. And then you look at it, it's like, no, they didn't. So, no shit, we're at 10 minutes already. All right, if you're going to work, have fun.